Hey everybody, Jason Sarni here with PhinManiacs.com. We are live. I am joined with Matt Morin, Jack Zulo in transit, and I am joined with Chip Turner at home. We will have Brandon Liguori, who was at Hard Rock Stadium today. So we're talking a 33-10 win. Awesome win, 4 in a row. Matt, you're going to drive this bad boy home, so I'll allow you to hit this show off. Have a good one, everybody.
Appreciate it. Yeah, so I got Jack and I got Chip, two of PhinManiacs best, and we're gonna talk about this win today, guys. This was big time. The Dolphins really put it together. What are your general thoughts on today's performance?
Jack, I'll let you go first while I try to figure out why I'm so pink here. I swear I don't have high blood pressure. I don't know what the hell is going on, but yeah, I'm not normally this pink. I think it's the incandescent lighting. Maybe so.
Maybe.
Okay, well, I'll say this. I did not think that the Dolphins were going to come in today and handily beat the Panthers. I thought this was a game that they could win. I thought that I was hoping they were going to win, but I was also aware that the Panthers have been playing good. Matt Rule has been a solid coach in his 2 years or in his year and a half in the NFL. I thought bring back Cam Newton. Sometimes that like juices a locker room, and I thought that Dolphins were going to have a tough time scrapping out a win at Hard Rock Stadium.
Yeah, I mean that I didn't expect it either. I think the Dolphins came in and put it all together. Really, it's been a while since the offense played well, the defense played well, and special teams played well, and that's the thing that stuck out to me for sure.
Now, how exciting was it, though? How exciting was it to see Tua, for a second game in a row, throwing in rhythm, being super accurate, managing the game like a seasoned quarterback?
No, it was great. I mean, 87% completion percentage. You know, I think he's hitting his stride. And I think we're seeing what we all thought we were going to see, and it's more consistent now. And, there's some fans out there that'll, kind of make it about Deshaun, which is despicable. But, this kid's used to that. I think he's figuring out a way to just block it all out and just be Tua.
And that is actually a great point, Matt, because what I was thinking today, especially after last week at Hard Rock, which was a pretty charged up atmosphere on First Responders Day, and the Jets were looking for a win against the Dolphins. They thought they could get one. He stepped up then. He stepped up today. Today was a immaculate win from the quarterback position. And I'll say this, it seems to me he's overcoming all this adversity, even if it is, dare I say, the organization shooting themselves in the foot in some ways or the other. Obviously, not every decision can work out. Not everything you do can be a positive. But he's overcoming mistakes made by the organization, whether that be on the field, in the coaching staff, or in the press box coming from management. As a quarterback, I am liking what I see about his leadership and his ability to persevere.
For sure. Yeah, Chip, I want to get your thoughts on, the first quarter, Tua goes down twice, and it looks like Brian Burns is going to have a field day. And then, Jesse Davis finds a way to kind of keep him at bay the rest of the game. What do you think the offense changed or that they did better to kind of keep Tua out of trouble?
Well, what they did a lot of a lot of short passes, which they've done for a long time, but they did a few safety valve passes as well in the first quarter to keep Brian Burns. And Brian Burns is phenomenal. I think he's a fantastic athlete.
Got a great first step.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, the Dolphins put Tua in a position to succeed, along with what Jack has been saying. That poor dude. I mean, there are a lot of Dolphins fans who have looked at what has gone on this season and are marveling at how well he has handled not only the controversy over the potential trade rumors, but also one of the worst one of the worst offensive line performances I have ever seen. I've been saying this for the last 3 years about how poor the Dolphins' offensive line has performed. They were unable last year to handle something as simple as just stunts. It was like it was a revelation to them that no one had invented stunts before, and the Dolphins didn't know how to deal with it. That happened and throughout the beginning of this year as well. But the line was good enough today. It wasn't good, but it was good enough. And the play calling, and this is what baffles me, because I'm going to go on a very, very brief aside here. There is a fairly well-known media presence in the Miami mainstream media who has said there are two types of people when it comes to Tua. It is those who will find anything, any kind of excuse for Tua, and those who are going to evaluate him fairly. And that person, so help me, has it wrong. There are those who can evaluate Tua fairly because he made some bad plays today. He did. We're not going to go into those because there weren't very many of them. But there are those who can evaluate Tua fairly, and there are those who will address anyone who wants to discuss anything that is not directly Tua's fault as Tua excuse makers. And those people need to go away. They need to stop it, because the guy played perfectly today within the limits of his game plan. He executed, and he showed everybody why he, not Deshaun Watson, not anybody else, should be the future of this franchise.
Oh yeah, I would definitely agree with that sentiment. That Tua deserves more than what he's gotten. I think people are very quick, and in unfair fashion, are very quick to say he's not the man because he wasn't, lights out right away. Like obviously Herbert, that's the easy comparison. And by the way, he had a horrible game today. He's thrown, I think he threw 2 picks. One was a pick 6 to Surtain. Did not have a good day today.
It's almost like he's a second-year quarterback who makes mistakes.
Right. It's bound to happen. He's not going to be perfect. And look at Mahomes. I mean, he went out and threw 50 touchdowns and 12 interceptions his first year as a starter. And then he comes in his third year where everyone thinks he's going to just coast to the Super Bowl, and he struggles a little bit. It's normal. These guys are human, So I think Tua needs more. I personally want more of a sample size on Tua. I'm not predominantly saying he's the man, but I'm definitely not jumping ship on him because there's too much good there for me to jump ship. That's my position.
Well, you know what? I think 2 points were made by both of you guys about sample size, but also about they're not having a good offensive line and great quarterbacks. And I'm not saying he's a great quarterback just yet. Great quarterbacks are built by how they perform when they don't have everything around them, when they can outperform issues with the team or weaknesses with the team, and they rise above that. And I think we're seeing Tua do that with the offensive line. And secondly, about sample size, coming out of the draft, everyone was comparing him to Drew Brees and Steve Young. I think his mobility has gone down comparatively to Steve Young, but because of the hip injury. But those guys took time to develop in the NFL. It took years to develop. And I think if we give Tua time to develop, we'll get close to what we were promised.
Yep. That's if I may interject really quick. By the way, did you know that today was Tua's 16th start? He now officially has as many starts as an NFL rookie.
That's a great point, Chip. And I wanted to jump in real quick because I heard Steve Young, and before anyone goes nuts, I'm not saying that Tua is going to be Steve Young. But what I am going to say to play off Jack's developmental point is this. There was a time where things, for lack of a better expression, clicked for Steve Young. He was awful in Tampa Bay. He was not very good when he came in at spurts for Joe Montana. And then somebody said, just throw the ball. which basically means when you have Jerry Rice, it's easy to just throw the ball. Fine, I'll give that to you. But Jalen Waddle is a top 5 reception man in the NFL. So when you have the faith to just throw, someone made a point today in a radio show that finally Tua threw to Waddle, and Waddle was not yet looking at the ball. And that was on the 57-yard pass. So that's the point. Once Tua starts to trust the player, have the player in the route and Tua's mind be on the same trajectory, we're going to see 57-yard plays. And that was what I wanted to play off of. And that's starting to happen.
I think Tua's starting to remember who Jalen Waddle was for him in college. Obviously, that's a different game, and the speed is different. And Jack and I were talking about that pre-show. NFL speed is just different, right? But I think Tua is remembering, oh, this guy's electric. I don't have to, deliver a perfect ball to him. He's got hands, and when he gets the ball in space, he's incredible. I mean, it just the acceleration is just unreal how that guy can go from 0 to 100. So I think Tua is just being reminded, like, okay, this is what it felt like at Bama, and now I can do it in the NFL too. And it's just more confidence for Tua. For sure. So
one thing I wanted to bring up, guys, and I did a quick little stat dip into the defense, and I wanted to figure out one of the reasons on why things have been really so good the last 4 or 5 games, and something actually shocked me. A lot of people said in the first 9 games, maybe even 7 games or 8 games, that Andrew Van Ginkel has been invincible. I'm going to tell you why. He had 29 blitzes in 8 games, the first 8 games, half a sack. He's had triple the amount of that total in the last 3 games. 49 blitzes in the last 4 games, and he's knocked the quarterback down 4 times today. He has a sack and a half. They weren't blitzing him. That was why. And 3 games in a row, over 45, 49, whatever it was, blitzes, and he's knocking and getting to the quarterback. So the defense is picking up, and they're getting faster. And the role players, because that's what Van Ginkel is right now, he's a popular role player who's now doing his job better and being put in the position to succeed.
When does the Duke Riley praise come in?
Oh,
that
God.
guy had a day.
Go back on the Twitter, and Duke has been a favorite. Like, he's got a motor, and that's what he had. They sent him in. They couldn't pick him up, and then all of a sudden he was unblocked, and he got a perfect blocked punt. I thought Beagle covered that ball up, and I was really excited because he was on and off the team or whatever. But I think Coleman got it. But yeah, Riley's what I think of Landon Roberts was a little bit last year in a spark sense.
Yeah, he kind of plays with like his hair on fire.
I think it's like the Van Ginkel look. He's getting the Van Ginkel thread.
There was a play before that block punt where I think it was to DJ Moore, and it was a slant route, and I think he just heard the footsteps. Duke Riley was going to light him up, and he just completely abandoned it.
He flat out just missed that. That ball, it bounced right off his chest. You could tell he heard the footsteps coming.
He got in his head. I think he knew that probably wouldn't have felt good.
There is something to be said, in my opinion, for the rumor that Brian Flores has taken over the defensive play calling. This defense looks completely different than it did a month ago. There have been tremendous adjustments made on this defense and it's all, from what I've seen, very dependent on who the quarterback is that you're playing. They didn't do a lot of blitzing today. And you don't want to blitz Cam Newton. You know why? Because Cam Newton can't. And I hate to say this because I kind of liked Cam Newton when he first came out. I liked him at Clemson. I'm a big Clemson fan. So Clemson is a familial thing for me, but Cam Newton is awful. He can't hit water falling out of a boat right now. That is and I honestly, I think today was the last start we'll ever see for Cam Newton, because he's so tremendously inaccurate at this point in his career that, and at his age, you're not going to get that back. I would love to see, just as an unbiased football fan, let Carolina see what they've got in P.J. Walker. But I think today is the last day you will ever see Cam Newton as a starter, because Miami exposed him as if you can put pressure on him without doing 0 blitzes or all-out blitzes, and leave your corners in coverage, he can't hit anybody. he can't do a thing.
I think he's, and I want, like, you guys can piggyback off this. This is not, necessarily Dolphins related. It's more about Cam, but I feel like the touch is just completely gone. And he was never really a touch quarterback in Carolina, like in his prime days. But I feel like he's just missing throws that used to be routine. And obviously the shoulder injury has a lot to do with that.
Yes.
He just doesn't look the same. I don't think he looks comfortable out there. Going back to Carolina, I think he got a little bit of juice, back into him, but it just doesn't look good. He doesn't look like a starting quarterback in the NFL. And that's sad because, there was a point in time where everyone thought he was going to be good for at least a decade, and he fell off a cliff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what made him really, really good was his dual threat. And
Right.
when you really cut that in half and you put the age and the injuries all on top of that, it's just, you know what? He had a fine career. Let's not all go crazy here.
Right.
But, Jack, I want to get you back in on here on just the win streak and what this really means for the rest of the season.
Well, I got to tell you, first off, I do want to rant about Cam Newton carrying the football in to the end zone when I have Christian McCaffrey on my fantasy football team. It's a whole other story. I got to say, as Matt and I discussed before, there's a correlation between this win streak and the trade deadline. So one thing I want to say is, once the swirling rumors of your starting quarterback disappeared, I think it galvanized the locker room. I think this team is playing the way we thought they were going to play. And they have winnable games coming up next week, the following week at home. Next week's at home, the following week at home, and then on the road on a Monday night in New Orleans. They literally can foreseeably win the next 3 games and match a 7-game lose streak with a 7-game winning streak to go to 8-7. Now, that is possible. I can't wait to be there at Hard Rock Stadium for the Jets game, because they could go to 7-7. But I'll say this: it's not even about making the playoffs right now. It's about making sure that the draft pick we give to the Eagles isn't like a top 15 draft pick. That is my concern. Worry about the playoffs when the playoffs are near. Right now, it's about a decent record, so we're not giving away what was looking like a top 3 pick just 4 short weeks ago.
That's great stuff, Jack. 'Cause me being here in Philly, everyone was loving me like a month ago. I was getting free coffee. People were opening the doors for me. And now people aren't even giving me leftovers for Thanksgiving, and they're like kicking me out of their home. They're pissed off at me like I've done anything, Jack.
Well, I got to tell you guys, I'm sorry?
You're good. You're good.
Oh, yeah, I got to tell you, I get so frustrated. I am very supportive of players. I root for players to win, not only on the Dolphins, but on other teams, even rival teams, because the human element is what I love about football. The story of a man having his dream come true, becoming an NFL player, and then either succeeding, failing, or someplace in the middle at that dream. To see a quarterback like Tua undermined by rumors of trading for another player without even judgment of whether it would be a good trade or not, to see a team undermined by the uncertainty, it's so difficult to succeed at this level. You guys pointed out Cam Newton older. He's got a few injuries, and that means that quick twitch that he used to have is just that much slower, where he can't break out of the pocket anymore. He can avoid a rush that he used to be able to pull away from. Everybody in this NFL, every player needs every advantage their team could give them. And now that Brian Flores has dialed up, maybe he told Josh Boyer, maybe he's doing it himself, but dialed up the pressure. It's giving the Dolphins great field position. They're winning the field position battle. How many times did they pin Carolina? How many times is Carolina from their 15 or closer to their goal line? that is what I like to see now is the Dolphins are winning, the team is winning, and it's due to the fact that I think they've gone through adversity that has been self-manufactured, I think, by management, and now they're winning. So let's see where that takes us. It's friggin' exciting right now, though, that's for sure.
Yeah.
No, I mean, the defense looks like last year's defense, and they cleaned it up. You know, they're getting home on their blitzes. I still think we were sending blitzes in the early weeks. They just weren't getting home. I don't think they were designed well enough. I think it was a little predictable, and they were getting picked up. But now, if you have a bunch of guys stalking at the line and you don't know who's going to drop into coverage and who's going to come at you, and you have rangy guys like Holland and, you know, people that are just insane like Landon Roberts, that's a little intimidating for guys like Cam who know that he can't really get out of the pocket like he used to. You know, guys like last week, you know, the Jets, Flacco's not going to get out of the pocket. You know, he sees that the line, he's probably going to freak out.
And that's
so I think Flores knows that, and that's it's exactly what he's using to his advantage.
We discussed it off before the show started, off camera. There was a lot of growth that happened with this team early on, and they were ripped early on, and justifiably so, because this team, not just the roster, but also the staff, is extremely inexperienced, and they've been learning on the fly. And we were talking about it before we went on the air. You're right. They weren't getting home. The blitzes weren't getting home, but now they all seem to be growing together. Mm-hmm. I was really impressed with Jalen Phillips today. Jalen Phillips was a problem with a capital P today. And he did something that I haven't seen him do. He added a rip move to his repertoire. I didn't see him use it before today. Maybe I was missing it. I'm old. I can't see very well, so maybe I missed it. But I saw a rip move from him today that I hadn't seen before since he played at the U. Right. So they're starting to come together. I really want to see them. Again, we said off camera, I want to see them put Jalen Waddle in space better. But they look as a team like they're finally starting to come together. Not just the roster, but also the staff seem to be playing well together.
I think it definitely has something to do with like the trade deadline passing. And I think there's a direct correlation with who's at quarterback and the rest of the team. That I don't think that's made up. I think that's a legit correlation. When a team that's surrounded by the media saying, well, you know, the Dolphins should look at trading for Watson. They should, you know, look at Tua that he's not what they thought he was. Once that passes, the risk or the chance of that happening goes away. I think the team basically looked at it and said, okay, this is the guy we're going to ride with. Now it's easier for me to play on Sunday. Now I don't have to play like walking on eggshells. So I think they're playing more relaxed, and I think they're playing just better football. It's just complimentary. You could tell that they're having fun. It's not all about, well, if we make a bad play, you know, that's more work for Tua. You could tell like there's a legit difference in attitude and like outlook on the game. You can see that there's less stress amongst them.
Complimentary
is the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, you make a good point, Matt. And just to like play off the whole trade deadline and to go back to what Jack said, there is an absolute correlation. And I'll tell you why without going into extreme detail or whatever. Players, I know for a fact, multiple players were worried if they had to move, if they had to take kids out of school, if they had to do things that normal people when changing jobs and uprooting would have to do that we don't even think about. And through a fun aspect of what this last couple of years have been, I'm lucky enough to have a little bit of an info in this, and there was a good amount, maybe a baker's dozen of players who were worried if they were going to be in Miami or not. Because they might have been thrown into a Watson deal. They might have been moved for draft capital to get Watson or whatever it is. But now the trade deadline passed. And they're playing football and they're having fun and the coaches are coming together. So, yes, it is starting to come together.
It's most likely extremely difficult to play under those circumstances and to be the professional that you normally are, like a professional football player. You're thinking about real life stuff and you're trying to prepare for an NFL game. those things probably don't mesh together very well at like a very efficient level. So now,
Coaching too. I mean, when you're coaching,
right,
you think that your job is,
on the
on the
line,
line for this.
or I'm going to have different personnel in different position groups. That's got to be accounted for. Now
100%.
you don't have that kind of stress. It's probably less of a weight on your shoulders while preparing. That's what I'd say.
And when you look at the numbers, there was a graphic that was put on the broadcast on Fox. It was, when you look at the Dolphins' overall stats for their 12 games, it doesn't look great defensively. But if you look at the last 4 games, it is elite. They are top 5 in literally every significant defensive category. And what they need to do is what they did today that they really don't do often, is that they kept it going. They didn't just hand the ball. I saw Tua throw a couple of times that I was actually surprised that it was a little bit further down the field in the 3rd and 4th than a usual Miami conservative team, what have you. So keep the pressure going. You got 2 games against New York that are very winnable games, and then we'll start talking about everything else. But things are, like everyone has been mentioning, starting to come together.
It's all right in front of them. I think they just have to control what they can control.
Go ahead, Jack.
And I will also add, if you think about such a young team, we got rid of a lot of veteran leadership, young players learning a system, young players becoming comfortable in the NFL. That is difficult in and of itself. I mean, I think that's why we see the Patriots always seemingly come together around weeks 5 or 6. And I had called the Dolphins out. I said the Dolphins will start gelling, between weeks 5 and 7. It took a little longer for that. I do definitely blame the uncertainty of the trade deadline. So you have the uncertainty of learning the wrinkles that are being added every week, the things being put on your plate as a young player, adjusting to life in the NFL, adjusting to nights out in South Beach, adjusting to all of that, wrapped up with the uncertainty of a trade deadline. Now the trade deadline's gone. You have people who starting to know their position, know where they're supposed to be on every play, and also I'll add coaching staff knowing how to use people and knowing where to use them, because the only problem with versatility is if the coaching staff tries to be versatile all the time. I think that if you can use people's versatility and then use it consistently for them so they know where they're going to be, it helps out.
I love that point, and I like to mix that into what the Dolphins did with Philip Lindsay. They used him well, because as much as I like Myles Gaskin, he's better outside the hash marks. He's better in the receiving game. Or you know what? That direct snap out of the Wildcat for him, that works. But I like Lindsay as this kind of head down, kind of grind it out in between the gap runner. And this, you mentioned it, New England, coming together. Their backfield does not come together, New England, all the time. At this point, it kind of gets a little, who's it going to be? And that's how I think the Dolphins hopefully could set it up with Lindsay, with Ahmed, and with Gaskin. And who knows that if Malcolm Brown comes back, what have you. But it seems that all these role players are now going to know their role, and the coaches are going to put them in the right position for them to buck up and either succeed or fail. Chip, what do you got on the outlook? And then we'll wrap up and get ready for Sunday Night Football.
Well, I think your point on Lindsay was excellent, because he hit the edge today, and there were 2 or 3 plays where he looked like, and this is going to sound like a cliche, but he was shot out of a cannon today 2 or 3 times, where Gaskin, he'll dance in the hole. He's going to get some stuff between the hash marks, and you see with Ahmed, he was good off on the sweeps, but Philip Lindsay adds a slightly different dimension to this team, and I really liked what I saw from him. So I am perfectly okay with a 3-headed monster of those 3 guys going into the last part of the season. I'm not afraid of anyone that the Dolphins have left on their schedule. I'm not. And I believe you and I discussed this, Jason, and correct me if I'm wrong, no team in the NFL has ever had a 7-game losing streak and a 7-game winning streak in the same season. in the
Correct.
history of the
And
league.
to play off that, it is official. No team at 1-7 has made the playoffs.
And I'm not even sure 10-7 gets you in.
You're right.
But the next 3 games are against the Giants, the Jets, and the Saints. And if the Saints had Winston, I'd be a little bit more concerned. And then they play then they're going to play the Titans, and the Titans are mostly dead. Don't get me wrong. I love Ryan Tannehill. I miss Ryan Tannehill.
It's extremely ironic.
It is.
But
I mean, you've got them, and then you've got the Patriots at home to close out the season. And I'm not really all that concerned with anybody they have left on their schedule. You can't look at any team that the Dolphins play the rest of the season and go, they're not going to win that game, specifically with the way that they've got things going on and the way that they're starting to play now. Goodness gracious, I hope this team keeps growing. I hope that Brian Flores makes me eat my words. I was very critical of him in the first half. You know this. I was on him because there were some amazingly stupid things that happened for this team in the first half of the season. But now they're starting to come on. I hope they prove me completely wrong. I'm back on for the rest of the season. It'll probably end in heartbreak.
no,
I'm back on.
no worries there, Chip. I mean, look, we all were hard. And Jack, I want to get your thoughts too. But, Flores, for all the good, he has to improve on certain things. He's less than 50% in his accuracy on challenges. Challenges, not all on Flores, by the way, because there should be a guy up in the booth to say, dude, pick it up, not doing it. I saw it. It's not happening.
Well, I don't know. Does he listen to the guy? I mean, or if the guy doesn't say anything, someone's got to be held accountable because some of them just don't make any sense.
I wouldn't be surprised if Flores is the judge, jury, and executioner for all decisions. But
Right.
Jack?
You know what? I just have one closing thought. The Dolphins have a late season December bye. Just say it.
It's a great thought because right now the Dolphins are on. Here's some fun numbers, holiday numbers. They're with family for another month. They're off, like you said, late in the season. Heal, have some fun family time, do whatever you want to do, and they don't get on a plane until after Christmas. Just think about that. We just celebrated Thanksgiving. The Dolphins are in a 4-game win streak. They don't travel outside of their zip code, essentially, until the 26th or 7th, depends on when they fly.
Wow. Yeah, no, that's definitely going to be an advantage. The one game that if they can continue this complimentary football, let's say hypothetically, big hypothetical, I will admit, but if the Dolphins can continue this and continue to win games and get to a point where it's the Patriots and the Dolphins, probably playing for second in the AFC East or maybe even first. Who knows? I mean, Bills won the other night, but I don't think anything's guaranteed with them either. So that last game is probably going to be one hell of a matchup. I'm ready for it.
Gonna make one point here too to that. And we all love doing our math. We all become probability experts.
Right.
How important was that win against the Patriots week 1? This important.
Yeah.
They have a game to give, meaning that the Patriots could be up a win and the Dolphins could tie them, and it's a no-brainer. They have the spot over them. So unless there's some freaky wild card tiebreaker where there's multiple teams, because I think that's happened to the Dolphins years and years and years ago, where they might have Chip, you would remember this, Jack, you would remember this. I think they got knocked out of a divisional tiebreaker because 3 or more teams were tied for I think this might be 2001, 2002. But point is, they have that game above the Patriots where if they get that 2 wins, they could have the game less going into that game, if you know what I mean. So they'll have the breaker. They could very easily make that game a playoff game, week 17 style, week 18 style, to get on in.
So we're going to get it.
It was
we can get into the playoffs on Xavier Howard's fumble.
Thank you. Yes. Good looks. Matt, take us on home, and we hope Brandon, who did a terrific job covering the game. My kids are going nuts because it's nuclear disaster time in my home. But Jack, I think, got home. So, Matt, why don't you take us all home so we could all enjoy the Sunday night?
Yeah, we're getting ready to enjoy Sunday Night Football. The Dolphins are on a nice 4-game win streak. Hopefully they can extend that into next week against the Giants, and then the Jets at home. And then they've got New Orleans on Monday night. So these are 3 winnable games that I think Miami can definitely assert themselves into the playoff conversation and really start to be the team that we all thought they were going to be. So not too late, better late than never, but they're on their way. So I think we're ready to go.
They are on their way. And Jack, you are back. So why don't you take us home with any final thoughts heading out on this holiday weekend and 4 wins in a row?
My final thoughts are, I think someone in the comments talked about maybe Fuller and Devontae Parker coming back. Right now, what I think is the most important is team chemistry. Right now, there is team chemistry. They're playing together. They're playing all 3 phases of the game, as Matt really pointed out before we went live. And I think we're seeing this team becoming a team chemistry. So I'm not even sure I care if Devontae Parker and Fuller come back. I'd rather see the people who are playing like Mac Hollins, obviously Jalen Waddle. I'd rather see those guys continue to perform. Gesicki. We've been seeing a lot of Adam Shaheen. I want to see those guys keep presenting themselves as playmakers and people that we can rely on. But you know what? I think we're going to see a 7 team after the Dolphins play the Jets at Hard Rock Stadium.
I love it. Well put, Jack. Listen, get home safe. Definitely appreciate your input. And are we going to hear a FinRant Friday from you on Friday?
We're going to hear a FinRant Friday, and we might even hear a Monday morning quarterback FinRant Friday tomorrow.
Mm.
I'll always take a special edition from you, Mr. Zullo. So I appreciate you. Thank you. Have a happy holiday.
Guys. Happy holidays, everybody.
You got it, Jack. And Chip, Matt, final thoughts before we all get out of here? Or are we ready to say fins up and good night to everybody?
Fins up and good night.
Yeah. Hey, remember this real quick. The Bills and the Patriots play each other twice. The best thing that could happen is one of them to sweep the other. I'm thinking it'd be better if the Bills swept the Patriots, but I'm not sure. We'll see how that goes. But they're going to beat the snot out of each other the rest of the season, at least twice. So, other than that, fins up. That's all I got.
Fins up. Love that. The path to least resistance. Let's just root for the Bills, give them the division, and get these Patriots out of here.
Yeah.
Fins up, everybody. Have a good Sunday night. Take care.
Take care. Fins up.
Take care.